The opinions expressed on the Custody Queen Show are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for personal, professional legal advice. The persons discussed are fictional and not based on actual clients.
Thought it was love, had kids in between. You can count on us, we're the Custody Queens. Yeah, you can count on us, we're the Custody Queens.
Good morning, everybody. I am Kristen Holstrom, and I am here with Sam McBride, and we are your Custody Queens. And we have a great show today. And some of my favorite shows are where we just get to sit and talk to you guys and answer all the questions. And, I love the questions. Some are a little personal, but hey, that makes it fun. So keep them coming, and we hope you guys enjoy the show with us this morning.
That's right. We're so happy to be here. Before we get into our listener questions, we're going to go ahead and pull from our CQ Talk box. So I'm going to put Kristen in the hot seat, as I love to do.
Yes, and everyone knows our CQ Talk box. It's just an icebreaker. It allows you to jump in, get to know your friends, your family, your kids a little bit deeper, and ask questions that may not ordinarily come up otherwise.
That's exactly right. So here we go, Kristen. What is your favorite thing about your career?
You always want to stump me right early on the show. My favorite thing about my career is probably that I get to work with you.
That's very sweet.
No, I love a lot of aspects of my career, and they all coincide a little bit with the stress, but I really enjoy the people that I work with. And if you don't enjoy the people that you spend so much time with, you'll never enjoy your career. And so there we go.
I couldn't agree more.
All right, so am I supposed to ask you the same question, or am I supposed to?
Sure, I can answer it.
All right, you answer that one too.
So I agree with you. Working around people that really matter to you and have sort of the same goal is what keeps me going. So having Kristen's something I'm very appreciative of and always have been. I would say the best part about my career is that I don't feel like it's happened yet. And I don't mean that I or Kristen and I haven't accomplished anything. It's just to say, like, I think it's good when you know where maybe the next step is, but you don't know where the top is. And so just always trying to get to that next point in your career and not looking at it as a linear thing. As a human, we're trying to live our lives. We cry, we make mistakes and all that good stuff, but just trying to really focus on the fact that we have this ability to do what we do for a living, to help people when they're going through really, really hard times. And then, by extension, be able to do some things like the show and have fun doing it and mix it up a little bit. We don't want to look back on our life and go, we spent every second of every day doing something we don't love. So I think that's important for both of us.
Yeah, you have to celebrate the wins in all aspects of your life. And when you hit the ceiling, or you feel like you're going to hit the ceiling with where you're at, then it's time to just remotivate yourself and make new goals. And they can be something as simple as, I'm going to have a better work-life balance, or it can be something like, I want Custody Queens to be in all 50 states. Obviously those are two extremes, but keep pushing yourself. If you're not educating yourself, if you're not growing, you're not developing, life is it's too precious to just go through the motions. And so that's just my food for thought for today. All right, well, let's get into it. Let's get into it. I will ask you the first question, Sam. Hi, Custody Queens. My name is Alex. My son is 14 years old and wants a sex change. My ex-wife is all for it and is even looking into hormone therapy and possible sex change procedures. I am on the fence with all of this. Do I have any rights to stop her from making these decisions on my son's behalf, even though I don't have legal custody of my son?
Wow, that is a very complicated question, Alex. And I think that I can sort of start to answer that for you without getting into, I know there's certainly a polarized opinion on whether to, give children hormones or not, or do these type of procedures based on a child's age. And I think everyone is right to critically think about these questions no matter what side of the fence you fall on. But when it comes to making a huge decision like this, you really want to make sure that you have a court order in place which protects you, especially if you have a different opinion from your co-parenter. So I would say the first step would be to go in and make sure at a minimum you have some sort of joint legal custody, and potentially, depending on the facts of the case, either continue the conversation on and maybe you can come to an agreement, and maybe everyone is on the same page to either defer this or to do it one way or the other. But if not, you can go and ask the court for some special decision-making authority. That's not an easy task, but it's out there. It's a potential right to you. And so Kristen and I are very big on education and in family law in general, but this is sort of a really good example in family law where a lot of these very real-world examples come up, and how do you navigate that and also the court process? The short answer is you do it with some help. You get an attorney, and you really understand your legal rights, and then also from those legal rights, try to really actively make a decision that is truly best for your child one way or the other. And if anyone has any questions out there or anything like that, it's something that I would be happy, Alex, to talk to you about further. You can give us a call at 1-800-419-7772. That's 1-800-419-7772.
Yeah, I just have one thing to add, and obviously we are not doctors. This is not medical advice. We're just trying to navigate the complexity of the issue. But you want to make sure, and this is an issue that is coming up quite often. It's not something that, we're only seeing once a year. This is an issue that is coming up quite consistently. And you just want to make sure that you have a voice that is being heard. And it is very important to try to get yourself joint custody, because if mom has sole legal and sole physical, then clearly she has the ability to make some decisions with having that designation. So having an attorney in a case like this is very, very, very important. I can tell you that I have had different judges make different rulings on issues like this. None of those decisions are taken lightly, and there are usually experts involved, if not multiple experts. So there's no blanket answer for this. It really depends on every family, every case. But the most important advice I can give you is this is not an issue that you just want to hope that the judge hears you or the judge likes you and doesn't make a decision for any other reason. But this is not something that judges take lightly. It is a process. It is not something that happens overnight. It's very similar to the issue with vaccines. One parent may be pro-vaccine, one parent is not. The court generally will seek assistance from experts in the field. There will likely be some sort of forensic custody evaluation, and there will be a lot of people involved in this. But the most important thing for you, Alex, is to make sure that you have an advocate that is hearing you and representing your position. And that would be the first step. And Sam and I are happy to talk to you further about this issue if you want to give us a call at 1-800-419-7772.
All right, Kristen, well put, and I agree with everything you said. Moving on to the next question. Hi, Queens. Emily here. I have a question. My ex-husband enrolled my child in a different school district than we agreed on in our custody agreement. What legal steps should I take with the existing custody agreement?
So first and foremost, we would need to see exactly what your existing orders say, because that is going to dictate on the advice that we give you further. I mean, I have a million questions just on those two sentences. How long has your child been going there? Has someone moved that would benefit the child going to a different school? Are there any issues with bullying or something that would warrant the child going to a different school? What is the reason that school districts have been changed? Generally, if you have orders in place, if you have joint legal, then usually the court will require the parties to consult or to confer regarding this issue. But if it was just up and done without notification and you do have joint legal custody, then that's something that you want to act on very quickly. Time is of the essence. The longer that child is in the new school, the less likely the court is to change schools yet again. So that is an issue that you want to prevent, and that I would want to see the wording in the existing orders, because I can't tell you how to navigate the future without truly understanding what the existing orders are.
Yeah, I agree with that. And just to kind of add on to Kristen's point, Emily, is the current court order you have is certainly going to be the building block for whatever step that you want to take next. And it might be that you have a really practical solution. It might be that your custody order is so specific that it says where your child needs to go to school. And if somebody deviated from that, maybe you're showing a court order to a school district and changing the school. But that's really oversimplifying a potentially over-complex issue that we might have to deal with in court. We might need to file a modification. We might need to meet and confer with the other side or give you some advice regarding doing that. But in general, like Kristen said, you got to look at the actual custody order and what it says, when it was put in place, and how, if at all, it can be modified. And what are you going to do is this enforcement of the current order, or is this a modification of the order? So figuring that out, I think, will put you in a better position and just sort of educate you with your rights so you can make a meaningful choice.
And if you don't have existing orders, you need to get some, because someone can't violate a court order by changing the school district if there wasn't an order to begin with. The biggest reason that kids change schools is generally when one parent moves to a different location and one parent is the primary custodial parent, and that's when the court may designate a new school or a change of school. But if you don't have orders, you need to get them. That is the first step. Do not wait. This process, it can take 2 to 3 months to get a court date. So call us at 1-800-419-7772.
All right, question 3. Do you want to go ahead and read that?
Sure. Hi, Queens. My name is Marley. Hi, Marley. I am in a really difficult situation. My daughter and her boyfriend are addicted to drugs. Their child is with me full time, and I want to seek permanent physical custody. Do I have any rights, or what do I need to do to obtain a custody order over my granddaughter?
I'm going to let you answer this one.
First and foremost, I am very sorry to hear that your daughter and her boyfriend are suffering from addiction. Addiction is a horrible disease. I do not wish it on anybody. And obviously, I just wanted to make that clear that I'm sorry you're in this situation. But it does sound like you are doing the right thing, that you are taking responsibility, and that you are the guardian per se at this point. So what you would need to do is you need to file in the probate court. You need to file a petition to establish a guardianship. It sounds like this would warrant an emergency petition for a guardianship. That is handled in a court that is often different than the family law courthouse, but it would allow you to get emergency orders, and you would be the person that could make decisions like, where does the child go to school? Where is the child going to live with? Oftentimes in situations like this, they will do an extensive background investigation to see what's going on with daughter. There will be drug tests involved. This is a process, but it sounds to me like you need to do this immediately, and you do have grounds to request for the court to make emergency guardianship orders.
Yeah, I think Kristen's completely spot on with that. Obviously, whenever there is substance abuse issues, it adds a new layer. Substance abuse issues are not all created equal, and you don't know what parents are going to do to potentially rehabilitate themselves or put them in a position where they can maybe be able to care again at some point for their child. But you're certainly on the right path, and it sounds exactly like you need some sort of emergency protection, at least right now, as things unfold.
Yeah, and social workers will be involved. Generally, Child Protective Services gets involved in situations like this. And with the word permanent, you have to start with the temporary guardianship first, and then there's a process that follows. There will usually be multiple hearings. Oftentimes, they will give the biological parents an opportunity to get themselves clean and to get themselves into treatment while simultaneously protecting the child and giving guardianship of that child to someone that is not a safety risk. So it actually differentiates between grandparents' rights, which is something you can petition for in the family law court to make sure that a grandparent is getting visitation. This is different in the sense that you would be asking for custody of the child by way of a guardianship.
All right, Kristen, I'm going to take a little quick pause from the email questions to ask you another CQ Talk box.
Okay.
Because I want to know the answer.
Okay.
Okay, so what is your favorite childhood memory?
That's a good one. I mean, I have a lot of childhood memories, but I would say one of my best ones, my dad had just graduated law school. I think my oldest younger brother was just a few months at that time, and my parents surprised us, and we went on a Disney cruise. And we thought we were renting an RV, and we thought we were going camping. And it turns out that we spent a week in Florida doing all the theme parks, and then we actually took off on a Disney cruise. And hands down, that was definitely probably one of the best experiences or memories of my childhood.
I'm sure that your children have a lot of Disney memories.
Yes, they do. I would say I like theme parks a little bit more than I think my parents did when they were raising us. But there's just so much more to do these days, I think, with the kids.
Yeah.
But that Disney cruise, I just remember it being the absolute best week of my life.
Would you go on another Disney cruise?
1,000%.
Okay.
I've already done all the research. They are just, I mean, now Disney cruises go to Greece and go to, all these different destinations in Europe. And some of these cruise ships are just phenomenal.
I've never been on a cruise.
You've never been on a cruise? Not even to Ensenada?
Not even to anywhere. a tugboat, maybe.
I love
hopped
cruises.
on.
You can, you can day drink. You can get off and do the excursions. You can also go to bed at 9 o'clock. The only thing that's rough is, the quarters. The sleeping quarters are a little tight. But
Maybe we should do a CQ cruise.
Yeah, I mean, some of these cruises have like zip lining and amusement parks on the top of the boat. I mean,
wow.
what they have these days is insane. But usually it's pretty good bang for your buck. For the most part, your kids are isolated to, a fairly...
I feel like I'd want to do like an Alaskan cruise.
Yeah, I think that would be
big old
super
whale.
cool. I mean, there are so many cruises, but yes, I think that vacation was one of my highlights. What about yourself?
Childhood memory? Oh, we didn't do cruises or anything. I would say one of my favorite childhood memories was kind of like a reoccurring one. So on Wednesdays, my dad would take me to Dave's Skate, which I think was in Riverside, but maybe it was like Corona Riverside area. He would take me to Dave's Skate on Wednesdays, and my dad was a really good roller skater. And he could like do the backwards one, so I had the cool dad, and we had so much fun doing that. And then after that, we would all go eat with my grandpa at a little cafe. And so we did that every Wednesday. And so now I try to take my dad out to eat on Wednesdays or someday during the week, and we go eat at a little cafe, and it's kind of nostalgia for us. But yeah, I'd say that.
Yeah, that sounds like a good one. Sounds like you'll have to carry that on, but I don't know. You on roller skates is a little frightening to me.
Oh, I wasn't good.
No, I could just see you eating
I
it.
rollerbladed. I never mastered the roller skate. There was something too balanced about it. But yeah, I mean, I love that thing. I had these rollerblades that you could like pump up,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I thought it was so cool.
Well, my kids have rollerblades. They got them for Christmas, and they use my house as a skate park.
Yeah.
At any given moment, you'll see Riley, rollerblading through my hallway, and then you'll see Brody, and then you see Hudson pulling on the back of Brody just along for the ride. And, I think I even bought Hudson my very recent 4-year-old skates, and I'm not sure what I was thinking.
You're right, though. I don't think I should get back on skates.
No, I think that's a hard no for you.
I'm a walking liability. Aflac's losing money on me.
Yeah.
That supplemental disability insurance, that injury insurance.
The accident policy.
They are losing money on me. I'm telling you what.
I could
Don't
just see
cancel
it.
me.
I could just see it.
All right, let's get back to these emails. Hi, Queens. My name is Eric from Sherman Oaks. I've been married to my wife for 8 years. We have a beautiful daughter together who is now 4 years old. I recently found out my wife has not been faithful, and I'm questioning if she is even mine. I want to get my daughter DNA tested. Is this against the law without my wife's consent?
The short answer is no.
No.
It's not against the law to get a DNA test for your daughter. It can be something as easy as usually getting a couple strands of hair from her brush or some saliva, from inside her cheek. A lot of people do it for all of those ancestry, websites where you can see exactly who is in your family and
and all the siblings you didn't know existed.
Yeah. The funny story, I think we had someone that we know pretty well. It popped up that he had 18 siblings.
I think it was like 40 something.
Okay, just kidding, 40 something. And it turned out that his biological dad was a sperm donor.
Yeah.
And he did not know that until they did the Ancestry.com, and voila, you have 40 people that share DNA with you. But no, it is not against the law. It is often done at the beginning of any family law cases when someone is questioning paternity. If you have raised the child, since she was born, clearly the first 2 years of her life, you would be presumed the parent as you've held her out as your own. If you are trying to decide whether or not you want to continue being a dad, or if you just want to know for your own self.
Yeah, if you just are curious, then go for it, right? I would caution that you might be opening Pandora's box. You have a 4-year-old daughter, and finding out that answer might be hurtful, and I don't know where you fall on that side of that issue. So there's certainly nothing illegal about having your child tested to see if they're biologically related to you. Sort of the crossover family law issue would be with paternity. There's several different presumptions, some conclusive, but they're not exclusive. So you could be dad because you're married and you had a baby while you were married, even if she's unfaithful. You could be dad because you're holding yourself out as dad. And there is some semi-recent, not super recent, but semi-recent case law and codification that came out that basically said that you can have more than one parent if it's in their best interest. It's a slightly different analysis, actually, than best interest. And it's a very interesting code section, you guys, so DM me and I'll send it to you. But in any event, there are different ways that you can be dad. You don't just have to biologically be dad. So you have to make a decision for yourself. Do you want to open Pandora's box or not? And what's the best way to handle that?
Yeah, if you just want it for peace of mind, you can even pick up a DNA testing kit at CVS or Walgreens. But I do think it's a slippery slope. If you want to be dad and you are dad and you want to remain dad, sometimes some things are better left, just where they are.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you have a really good and healthy relationship with this little human that wants you to be her dad, regardless of what any test may say. And be careful of jumping to conclusions pretty quickly. Because a spouse has been unfaithful doesn't mean that child, may or may not be yours. So that's something that you have to ask yourself, what do you want this result to be? But it is not illegal, and a lot of times it is done from the onset of any family law case, especially if someone is going into DCSS, Department of Child Support Services, and they're questioning whether or not the child is theirs. They will usually order the DNA test right from the onset.
Couldn't have said it better. I agree with everything you said.
Hi, Sam and Kristen. My name is Daniel. I'm from Orange County. My ex-wife has a drug addiction. After getting the help she needed and years of therapy, the judge has granted her equal timeshare. My son, who is now 8 years old, cries and says that he does not want to go with mom every time it's her week. I would have thought that he would have gotten used to this new arrangement, but I can tell he is physically and emotionally distressed before going to see her. What advice or steps should I take to navigate the situation in regard to the well-being of our child?
Okay, Daniel, so the first thing I would do is contact us or an attorney. You can give us a call at 1-800-419-7772. That's 1-800-419-7772. When I look at your facts and your question, although there is a decent amount of specificity with them, and it's not uncommon for children to have sort of emotional reactions to spending too much time at another parent's house, etc., there's probably a lot more information we need to know before we could really craft a case plan for you. So when you think, okay, is my child not acclimating enough? Is that normal? Do we need to take some other step that would allow him to acclimate? Or do we need to modify? Do we maybe need to dig a little deeper and we don't necessarily know what's going on at mom's house? Are we questioning her sobriety? Do we need some sort of custody evaluation to have someone really assess the situation, conduct some testing, do some interviews and observations? There is a bunch of options for you and how you actually want to handle the situation. How new are the orders? How far are you living? What was happening before? Why do you believe this acclimation is not occurring? So there's a ton of questions that I would have for you, Daniel, before we could really set up and create a case plan for you.
Yep, I think Sam nailed it on all aspects. The biggest question I had from this is, how long has mom been sober? How long was the period where, I don't know if she had supervised visitation or she wasn't seeing the child at all? How long has she been at 50-50? Oftentimes, with kids with that age, I have a 9-year-old right now, a lot of judges don't allow 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds make decisions. Oftentimes those decisions by the kids are made off of what's more fun. Does dad have all my toys? Are my friends near dad's house? Is mom in an apartment and it's a 1-bedroom? And it's a transition clearly for your child that's going to take some getting used to. I don't know if this has been going on for a year, 2 years, 2 months. That's going to dictate how we handle it. But yeah, if there's a concern for the sobriety, obviously that's a safety issue, which would trump all of the other issues. But there are options. But really, my advice to parents in this situation is, as long as mom is sober, it is very important that mom has a role in this child's life. And whether that's 50-50 or a more minimal role, it is your job as the other parent to facilitate and to encourage these visits to happen and to help your child get excited about going to see the other parent. Because 2 parents, as long as everybody is, not a safety risk, 2 parents are better than 1. And a lot of times it's just a phase. It could be that his Legos or his Nintendo Switch is at, your house and not mom's house. So find out, is there something that you could pack with him that may get him more excited to going mom? Can you talk to mom about a candid conversation and say, hey, do you think you could take him to the movies, or do you think that you could get involved with something that's important to him so he's not just sitting watching TV the whole time? Those are conversations that I try to encourage the parents to have before running into court, because it's an expensive process and it can be a long drawn out process, and sometimes it's just a very simple solution. Other times it's not. But feel free to give us a call and we can create a customized, unique strategy on how to deal with this issue with you and your son based on the facts that are relative to you. You can call us at 1-800-419-7772. You can also fill out a form on our website at custodyqueens.com, and Sam and I will personally get back to you.
That's right. And, just to briefly add one little thing is there are a lot of creative little solutions that the court and everyone is coming up with. So I don't know if this person has an issue with alcoholism or anything like that, but one tool that I use quite frequently is SoberLink. And it's quite literally a monitoring system that you can turn on during custodial time to make sure that you're breathalyzing someone. And that's not warranted in most cases, but there are potential things that you might be able to do to secure safety so that you can then, as Kristen was saying, fall back on, what things can I do as a parent to sort of encourage this and make this a positive thing for our child who really needs two parents.
Yeah, and you also, therapy might be a good path to go down with a child that's 8 or 9 years old, and maybe the therapist can get out the information from your son on what the issues are that he's having with going to mom's. Is it mom's house? Is it mom personally? Is it the lack of relationship he has with mom, or is it something else? But if you have joint legal custody, that is something you guys can decide together. If you have sole legal custody, then that can be a decision that you may be able to make on your own. But I'm a huge fan of therapy. For the last several years, we've always talked about how important therapy is. And it's not just for adults, it's for these kids learning to navigate this transition as well. I think we have time for one last question. I think we have just a couple of minutes, Sam, so I'm going to get it out to you really quick. And this one is for you. Hi, Sam. This question is for you. Being that you are a family law attorney, does this change your perspective on getting married and or having a prenup?
Oh, man. What came first? No, I would say, in general, no. I think that there is a part of you, obviously, when you're in family law, you're dealing with a lot of people that maybe need some help in dissolving their relationship or navigating co-parenting. So there is, of course, the side of you that looks at things and is like, oh man, this is happening a lot. But I think I've also gained a different perspective from that, is that it does happen a lot. It doesn't have to be stigmatized. You can have relationships and marriages after a failed marriage. That's okay. And things happen for a bunch of different reasons. So I'm a love is love kind of girl. I believe in marriage. I believe in it in all forms, even the ones that don't work out. I'm all for it, and I think I always have sort of felt that way. Prenup, yeah, my opinion on a prenup has certainly changed, and it should change for all of you too. There's no reason to get married without at least consulting regarding a prenup, and most of the time you should have a prenup. A lot of times people think, well, I only want a prenup if I have money and I'm trying to shield it from someone who doesn't. That's not true at all, and whoever sent that propaganda out should stop it, because it's beneficial for both parties, both people to have attorneys, both people to understand contractually what they're getting into. It's not sexy, but I promise it's a lot sexier when you're getting divorced and you already kind of have a guide to tell you what to do. So as to prenups, yes. As to marriage, I think everyone keep getting married.
1,000%. I think a prenup should be mandatory before you get married, because I think that it would absolutely help with the transition going into divorce. And that is all the time we have. And we do prenup, so you can give us a call at 1-800-419-7772. That's 1-800-419-7772. And do not try to use LegalZoom for your prenup. It is not a good choice. So call us. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for joining us today and every Saturday on Go Country 105. And remember, let love rule.